Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Reason We Learn. I'm Deb Philman, mom, homeschooler, educator. I thought I was done today. I did. I thought I was done with the crazy today. And then I'm scrolling Twitter and I come across this from Colin Wright. The Dalton School in Manhattan is having a race meltdown. It's absolutely insane. Teachers are holding the school for ransom with demands. These are the teachers. But they're so extreme, the school will crumble if they give in, but they'll crumble if they don't too. Now let's take a look. I'm not going to look at this list. I'm going to go back to the original blog article where he got this. Breaking. This is December 17th. The Dalton School is in full meltdown. The Dalton School, one of the most prestigious private schools in Manhattan, is in the throes of a full-on racial meltdown. The precursor of this, as first reported by Bloomberg News, was the school refusing to reopen even while most other public and private schools in New York did. This despite the lack of any scientific evidence suggesting schools were significant vectors for COVID-19. Parents signed an angry letter saying that the $54,000 annual tuition, none of which was being rebated, should buy something more than Zoom classes. Possibly relenting under the pressure, Dalton has announced plans to reopen, but this has ignited another firestorm, this time from the faculty. Understand something. Each child is paying $54,000. Those who are on financial aid pay considerably less. Sometimes they pay nothing because the alumni spend a lot in donations. They give a lot of money. Apparently, reopening is racist now. And we've heard the same thing from the teachers' unions in LA, but now we're getting it from private school as well. So they have to come up with something different because they're private. So what do they come up with? The charge has been leveled by Black faculty and staffers. Only the Black ones, though. Nothing racist about that. They suggest, among other things, that faculty of color are more at risk from having to come to work. The reasoning is that they have, on average, more distant commutes and therefore expose themselves longer to risky public transportation. How much you want to bet that these faculty members have been coming and going on the said risky public transportation while they're not going to work? How much you want to bet if you spent some of the endowment to follow them around with private detectives, you would find that they were living lives just like all the rest of us, coming and going and doing and whatnotting. But now they're so at risk. But that's just the start of Dalton's problems. Over 100 faculty have taken the opportunity to issue a lengthy set of racially based demands that are breathtaking in their wokeness. Black students have added their own demands. So we have the Black faculty and the Black students. It's really sad that we have nobody with a spine anymore. It really is, because if I were the headmaster, if I were members of the board, if I were on that board, I would say, okay, we give the faculty a simple choice. You come back to work or you're fired. It will cost them less in the long run to buy these people out of any contracts they may have. And I don't know what their contract situation is. They don't have contracts like public schools. But to deal with any lawsuits, remember, they were hired to do a job. If they refuse to do a job, forget their demand. Their demands are meaningless. In a court of law, this is meaningless. This is meaningless. I mean, also, well, we won't come back unless you do all these things. No. I mean, the most they might entertain would be that they feel like they're in danger and that the school should have given them some out. Okay, they might get somewhere on that. But they didn't just come back with that. They came back with that and all of this, which makes it transparent that the bit about we don't feel safe is a bunch of bunk. They're shaking them down. This is a shakedown operation. And so I think they should be fired. They should be terminated. How many people are we talking about here? Because it's only the Black faculty. And if the white faculty move on, we just say, bye. There are plenty of teachers who are out of work who would love to take those jobs. There are plenty of people who aren't yet teachers who would be good teachers in that role who are out of work who would love to take these jobs. Love to take these jobs. I would call their damn bluff. And I'd say, all right, well, you don't want to do the job. These are your demands. We read your demands. And the answer is no. Goodbye. As far as the students, I would say, you chose to come here. You're not coerced to come here. It's not a public school. You applied and we granted you admission. In most cases, I bet they're getting some financial aid. It would be very simple. Not only are we not meeting your demands, young lady, but we are telling you may not come back to school because you have demonstrated that you do not want to be a part of this community, that you are a racist, and you see your fellow students and your fellow faculty members and members of this board as hostile. You have a hostile attitude towards us. So we don't think you're really a functioning member of this community. If you had put this in your essay to apply to this school, we would not have accepted you. So on that basis, we're rescinding it. Goodbye. Run along. Have a nice life. That's what I would do. Of course, I'm not in charge. Okay. So, it's over 100 people. I still think they should be fired. These demands, which have been obtained exclusively by the naked dollar, go on for 8 pages and have as their underlying assumption that Dalton is systemically racist. Dalton teachers are refusing to come back until they are met. Fire them all. Parents are in an uproar, some threatening to remove their children. Major donors are said to be balking. They should be. The board, filled with New York movers and shakers, is in turmoil. I mean, wow, it sounds like a soap opera. No, it's very straightforward. Do the job for which you were hired, or we will pull our kids out. And by the way, we're going to sue you when we do. That's what I would do. If I were a parent with a child in the school and they were even considering meeting these demands after I paid for a product and I'm not getting any rebate on my tuition, I would sue for breach of contract. 100%. You have to sign a contract to pay, and for that, they will deliver an education. It didn't look like this when these kids applied to that school. It didn't look like this when the black kids applied. It didn't look like this when these faculty applied for the job. It didn't look like this when they got the job, when they got the slot in the school, and the parents who still want their kids to go to the school that was have rights, and they would, and they should prevail in court. And I'm not a lawyer. I'm just stating the blatantly obvious. Here's the sample of the demands. The hiring of 12 full-time diversity officers, an additional full-time employee whose entire role is to support black students who come forward with complaints. Hiring of multiple psychologists with specialization in the psychological issues affecting ethnic minority populations. Can we start with narcissistic personality disorder? Yeah. How about that? How about antisocial personality disorder? Oh, the whole menu of cluster B personality disorders is on display here. Pay off student debt of incoming black faculty. Why? Of incoming black faculty? How about no? Reroute 50% of all donations to New York City public schools. Why? No one will give anymore. They have tax dollars. Elimination of AP courses if black students don't score as high as white. So we punish the white students because the black students don't score as high? That's outrageous. It's just like, I mean, they've already dumbed down the AP. Now they want to just eliminate it because they aren't not scoring high enough. How about get them a tutor? That makes at least some sense. But it's still not a demand. It's not an appropriate demand. They probably already have tutors for this. So if you don't score as high, that's on you. They probably shouldn't be in AP classes in the first place if they aren't going to be able to pass the test or they're not doing the work. One of the two. Required courses on black liberation. No. That is a religion. No. Even when it's not the theology and it's just the movement, it's either a religion or a borderline terrorist group. So no, just no. This is insane. Public anti-racism statements required from all employees. What, a struggle session from all employees? You're going to have to do that annually. We should have struggle sessions. Would they need to be public? Shall they be televised? I mean, that's what this is. Reduced tuition for black students whose photographs appear in school promotional materials. How about your parents check the little box that says, don't put my child in the promotional materials? Then they can't. If you feel like it's being exploitative, okay, they can't exploit your child for, look at our diversity. That's fine if that's what you want, but your child's not a model. They're not a paid model. That's why there is a little checkbox. So if you don't want to promote the school your child goes to, that's probably giving them financial aid. If you don't want to do that, then check the box. Don't be a model. If you want to be a paid model, go be a paid model. But you don't get to demand reduced tuition. How about that? Let's see. Required anti-bias training to be conducted every year for all staff and parent volunteers. That's how you get no volunteers. Mandatory minority representation and otherwise elective student leadership roles. They're elective. So no, they're elective. If you can't be in a leadership role and you don't deserve to be there and nobody elects you to be there, then guess what? Too bad. They're elective. Don't do the elective. You don't have, that is un-American, absolutely un-American. Even if you don't think it's a meritocracy, even if you think it's a popularity contest, whatever, you don't mandate things. You don't mandate minority representation. Many of these elective student leadership roles serve a purpose. They actually have to have some kind of skill or job that they do. You don't just pick someone by the color of their skin. That's insane. Mandatory diversity plot lines in school plays. Thought policing now? Diversity plot lines? Why? Themes are either relevant or they're not. And if you don't want to go to a school that teaches across the board material that is relevant and important to learn and does plays that are relevant and important to learn, if you don't want that, if you want all the plays to have diversity plot lines, go to a different school. Better yet, start your own damn school. It sounds like you want segregated schools anyway, so why don't you go do that? The demands for additional staffers alone would add millions of dollars to Dalton's annual budget. Siphoning off 50% of donations would drive funding. Eliminating AP classes, referred to as level courses, would destroy college admissions. It's not an exaggeration to say these demands, if implemented, would destroy Dalton altogether. That's the goal, you realize. These are Marxists. These are people who are against this kind of elite education altogether. Plus, they definitely don't want anybody educated at this level because the more there are people who are educated, in selective schools, the more likely there will be somebody out there thinking, which we can't have. According to insiders, much damage has already been done. I'm sure they've been kissing butt for years. And it's not enough because it was never going to be enough. It was never intended to be enough. There was never an enough. Enough is shutting down the school. Enough is closing everything that in any way, shape, or form is excellent. Because everything in our society that elevates people to true excellence, that celebrates life, that celebrates art, that celebrates achievement, that celebrates the individual over the group, anything that does that has to be destroyed. All they know how to do is tear down and destroy. And I don't know what it's going to take for Americans to wake up and realize this is what's going on, and in every way they can, small ways locally, big ways, whatever, but start local, start small. If your kid goes to a school like this, pull them out. Pull them out. If you're a Dalton parent out there and you're watching this, and a piece of me hopes that you are, leave. Take your dollars elsewhere and sue. Because if they're not going to give you a rebate, this isn't what you bought. This isn't what your child signed up for. And if you agree with this, a pox on you. I'm sorry, because you are an instrument of your own doom. Not just yours, but mine too. And I have nothing to say to you if you agree with this. Nothing at all. What you may not know is that Dalton has long been one of the most progressive schools in the country. That's a fact. My aunt went there decades and decades and decades ago. Okay, she's in her 90s, I think. Actually, no, she's in her late 80s. They've actively encouraged the sort of thinking that is now biting them in the butt. And the obvious irony is that if Dalton is systemically racist, a belief they themselves promote is progressives who bear the responsibility 100%. Tragic but true. I believe they started well-meaning, and this is just run amok. When progressive institutions embrace revolutionary ideologies, as Dalton has done, they fail to appreciate that the revolution comes for them first. The scaffolding is being built on East 89th Street. We'll see how this plays out. I know how it plays out. Oh, and by the way, there are 8 pages of demands. 8 pages. So we know how it plays out. The school will likely implode unless somebody comes forward or the board steps forward and somebody has a spine and says, you don't like it, take your toys and go home. It would be truly heroic if they did that, not just for the students who deserve to be there and want to be there as is, not just for the parents that have spent so much money and so much energy paying for the school, building up the school, donating to the school, not just for them, but for all of us out here in sanity land, in reality, who don't want to live in this Marxist dystopia where excellence is destroyed at every turn. So I hope there's somebody listening. In the meanwhile, if you like this sort of content, if you get something out of it, please subscribe to this channel, comment on this video, share this video, like this video. That's the video.